Good morning, everyone. I'm Karine Coutinho. I'm VP Marketing and Communication at Lemonway, and I'm really glad to have you all online today for this new Lemon Boost. The very first we are organizing European-wide in collaboration with our partner, IZBERG. And the topic of today is about transforming procurement processes thanks to the marketplace model. We have people from all over Europe attending today, from Poland, Portugal, France, Italy, and so on. And you are still joining us on the platform. A big thank to you all. Let's kick off with an intro and housekeeping remarks, as over the past few months, we've seen at Lemonway, and I think it's the same also for IZBERG, a booming trend towards B2B marketplace adoption, especially among big corporates and also medium-sized companies. As you know, today's focus is about procurement marketplaces, and indeed, as a whole, B2B purchases. I've really long resisted this trend towards digitization, and there's today actually one arena that online marketplaces have not yet well penetrated, that is procurement for corporations and procurement departments as a whole. And the question is actually why? I mean, probably because of concerns about scalability, quality, and also reliability. Leaders were kind of hesitant to change their long-standing reliance on dealing with direct suppliers. You know that RFP, sourcing, spendings management, etc. This is actually part of procurement department's daily jargon. And the question is how to streamline all these tasks. And today, together with IZBERG, we feel that there's a real shift. New pressures, new offerings, and also, of course, the current COVID context, and Thierry is going to come back on this, are actually deeply reshaping the procurement functions. And there's also another reality that is very important. It's also the fact that a new generation of procurement leaders who have grown up buying online for their personal needs, they are also beginning to wonder whether buying online also makes sense for business. And the goal of the session today is really to decode how the marketplace model can apply to procurement. This is one thing. Then also to explain you the benefits of launching an e-procurement marketplace, and also show you that this is not a model that is only accessible by the Amazons or Alibabas of this world. And this is something that is concrete and that can be attacked and that can be addressed by any kind of company. And we will show this to you thanks to a concrete case study with Total. So to do so, we have quite an extensive program to show you. We will kick off with Thierry Dufresne from IZBERG. He's going to give you the keys to a successful e-procurement strategy thanks to the marketplace model. Then we will continue with Martin Pierre, Chief Commercial and Marketing Officer at Lemonway, and he's going to deep dive into transactions optimization and e-procurement marketplace, what it entails from a regulatory standpoint, with, of course, the ultimate goal to simplify sourcing, and thanks to this B2B marketplace model. And then we will come back to Thierry again. We will have a concrete example of an e-procurement marketplace called Click and Buy that was launched by Total, one of the biggest oil and gas companies worldwide. And we will finish with a Q&A session. Our experts, of course, are here to answer all your questions. So feel free to interact with us all along the webinar. You have a panel on the right-hand side of your screen and a tab called Questions. So please insert all your questions in there, and I will pick them up and ask them to our experts during this Q&A session. We'll also have 2 polls for you. The idea is for you to interact and benchmark yourself with the rest of the audience, and we will comment them, and we will comment the results at a given time. I see participants that are still joining the webinar, but let's kick off the event without any further ado. So we'll start with Thierry. As I said, Thierry is VP Marketing and Sales at IZBERG. IZBERG is an all-in-one marketplace solution enabling companies to actually launch their marketplace project about product or services marketplace, thanks to a modular technology. And Thierry is going to draw a kind of panorama of the strategic benefits of launching an e-procurement marketplace. So Thierry, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Thierry Dufresne, so VP Sales Marketing at IZBERG. I'm very happy to present this morning the e-procurement marketplace, boosting and streamlining your B2B buying processes. So let's go through the details of what Karin just said before. And first of all, some context elements are needed to start with. So this is the 5 lessons learned from COVID-19 in a VUCA environment. So what is VUCA? VUCA acronym is used to describe the state of business, political, the societal, the ecological world. VUCA acronym stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And these past months, the world faced an unprecedented crisis that changed the way of working forever. So enterprises have now to set up different organizations model. And this is fully applied for e-procurement strategies and organizations. So as Accenture said, there are 5 lessons coming from this new crisis, new elements. More than ever, the current crisis has changed the way companies organize themselves. So they make decisions, and this is really visible in the procurement area. So people first, and you see that in the next coming example, people are really at the middle of the procurement operating model to manage these ways of working. Secure the supply base. So obviously one of the key assets of successful procurement activities. Unlock funds intelligently. So cash management, of course, is a key in optimized purchasing model. Build resilience for the future. So it's all about being prepared for future crises by building a solid procurement model. And the number 5 is, of course, the purpose of today, innovate with purpose. This is our main agenda here, innovate with purpose, the B2B marketplace being one of these innovation options. So rapidly, some definitions about the e-procurement. So what is e-procurement? So it's through digital solutions. E-procurement consists of dematerializing commercial transactions between departments and their suppliers to optimize the purchasing process. So this approach of procure to pay, P2P, includes product selection, order shipping, and invoice sending. Very, very short description. Now, what are the main processes of a marketplace to manage the e-procurement? As you see, the main stakeholders of a marketplace dynamic here, and a summary of the main flows that organization will have to manage. So from sending catalogs to purchasing the product and services and pay for it, then be delivered, ship the product, and then pay the supplier. So these are all transactions that needs to be managed in a proper workflows and with the proper solution. So now, what are the main challenges by stakeholders when talking about B2B e-procurement? So on the buyer side, the buyer wants to have a one-stop shop buying experience. That means he be able to buy products from a single place. He wants to compare price, of course. He wants to have a wider catalog of offering of products and services. And he wants also to buy from reliable, trusted suppliers in terms of finance, you will see that later, logistics and ethic. And last but not least, he wants to have the same buying experience as in B2C. This is really key. Now, from the supplier perspective, the main challenge will be to ensure he has a better visibility, a higher traffic, and ensure that he will be paid by the buyer and control his investments. So there is one solution to solve the challenge of these buyers and suppliers, which is the marketplace. So it introduced the new stakeholder, who is the operator, could be internal or external. We will see that later. So the marketplace allows to federate the ecosystem and place the operator at the middle of the value chain. It also helps to generate new source of revenues on a commission-based model, or not, it's an option. Zero stock and zero logistic to manage. And in addition to that, it allows to extend the catalog and manage the long tail. So the other advantage is to test new products, new services, new offerings at no risk. So last but not least, it allows to capture and capitalize on the data to manage this ecosystem. So let's see rapidly the marketplace trends. So you see thousands of analyses in the social networks that say almost the same thing. So we just decided to choose this one. The evolution of the marketplace, first generation was based on the B2C experience with big pioneers like Amazon, eBay for e-commerce. Then came the second generation, which was still B2C, but including the service business like Airbnb or Uber. And the third generation where we stand now is the B2B for products and services, and companies such as Alstom, Suez or Total are now in these new ways of working. In terms of general trends, in 2022, the majority of analysts predict that 75% of the B2B purchases will happen online through a digital platform such as a marketplace. So even surpassing the B2C transaction volume. So B2B transaction volume being even twice the B2C volume, according to Frost and Sullivan, one of the famous analysts. So it's approximately a volume of $6 trillion versus $3 trillion for B2C. So it's a huge, huge, huge opportunity. And of course, we are very happy to be part of it. So now let's deep dive into the e-procurement purchase categories. So there are 3 categories, in fact, when we talk about e-procurement. So companies' purchase are often divided into these 3 categories, depending on the expenses associated with them. So as you see on the chart, class A, B, and C. So if you look at these purchases through the lens of total cost of ownership, the TCO, the order is reversed. Class C purchases, which seem mundane at first glance, are much more important than they look. So let's look in details at the characteristics of each of these 3 categories. So Class A purchases are the strategic purchases of the companies that provide direct input into the production processes and are now almost always optimized by business. Done. Examples include raw materials for industrial business, for example. Class B purchases are recurring and strategic products, but are not involved in the production processes, such as, example, computer equipment, travel, vehicle fleets, etc. These purchases are also generally well managed by procurement departments. Done. Lastly, Class C products are not recurring and are not strategic purchases, such as office furniture, supplies, hygiene products, tools, small industrial equipment. And these tend to be one-off purchases and very difficult to predict. So in terms of spending, direct versus indirect spending, while Class A purchases amount to 75% of direct spending, very simple, Class C purchases account for the majority on indirect spending. On average, Class C purchases amount to 5% of the company purchasing overall, but also 60% of orders, 75% of suppliers, and 85% of items. It's huge. So this trend inflates the total cost of ownership of Class C purchases. And then finally, let's talk about the hidden cost. Class C purchases are in the first place for hidden cost, definitely. Even though they involve low amounts, Class C purchases contain significant hidden costs. These purchases are not controlled by procurement departments, as they are often made outside of the buying process by different employees or service scattered around the company. The consequences of this should not be ignored, such as an increasing number of orders that frequently contain errors or are returned. So this is why, after having optimized their class A and B purchases, companies now have every reason to focus on their class C purchases. They stand to improve their cost reduction, efficiency, and competitiveness. So let's go too fast. Sorry. Let's go through the what could be the objectives of implementing a marketplace platform to manage a Class C product purchasing. So objective one. Now let's see. You see, if you remember the first slides, we said people first. So this is really important. So simplify the way people are buying products and have exactly the same buying experience as in B2C, which is really key to have a successful project. And then also avoid using heavy systems for managing simple tasks, simple purchases. So that is objective one. Then objective two, for less complexity and more flexibility to exploit this specific marketplace data. So be able to manage your data, your specific data of the marketplace on a different way than with the big system like ERP system. Objective three, as seen before into the Class C purchases challenges, there are the key elements that motivate a change in the overall process. So of course, it's all about TCO, lowering the order management, lowering control and invoice management, pay on time in respect of compliance rules, that will be the next topics, and keep control of the company ethical rules, which is also something really important for such activity. Then objective four. This is at the heart of a fair purchasing strategy by controlling the seller onboarding. So create a fair competition between the suppliers. So it's a kind of creating a self-regulation, price self-regulation without any buyer negotiation. So provide a deeper product catalog, which is really key to have a better buying experience, and secure the sourcing by multiplying the competitive equivalent product and service offer. So all about fair competition. Objective 5 is more about this one is optional. As said before, you can have your marketplace, you can operate yourself your marketplace, but you can also buy a service to a third-party company who will do it on your behalf. And then it's all about delegating the operation of the marketplace. So to manage the supplier, to manage and create all the products, the file, the dossier that you need to feed for your marketplace, manage the content, and of course manage all the financial aspects of the platform, which is really key for the success. So this is a kind of marketplace as a service model, optional. Some companies are choosing it, other companies prefer to keep control of their marketplace with their own people. That's just a question of choice. And objective 6, which is very key on this process. Financial flows are at the heart of a successful marketplace project. And for that, you will need to rely on a specialist to do this activity with the knowledge and mainly meeting the strict regulatory compliance of this event. So now let's talk about it. This is the time to pass the floor to Martin Pierre from Lemonway, who will highlight what are the key challenges and solutions to address when speaking about marketplace financial flows. Martin Pierre, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thierry, for this great overview. Just to make the transition between you both, you've been introducing the notion of segmentation and e-procurement marketplace typology. I think, Martin, you have some additional insights to bring on the table, especially regarding the transactional and regulatory aspects. Just to introduce very quickly Lemonway. So for those who don't know Lemonway is a payment solution for marketplaces and crowdfunding platforms. And we are operating all over Europe. About launching an e-procurement marketplace, this is something indeed accessible for all companies, but there are some key features and elements you need to have in mind to successfully launch and kick off your marketplace project, especially from a payment flows and regulatory standpoint. And Martin, it's up to you to explain what it is all about.
Thank you very much, Karine. I will try to make it as clear as I can. Very happy to be with you. If you have any question or if my English is not clear, please drop a line on the chat or question box and we'll handle it. Just I see Christophe and a couple of questions. Yes, the document and the webinar is going to be shared. After, you will be receiving a link, and so you will get access to it. So that's just a side note. And thanks, Ludovic, for your questions. We'll take it after the presentation. Thank you. So very happy to be with you. And before jumping directly into the payment scheme and our payment, I would say, orchestrate marketplace B2B, I'm just going to stay 2 slides on the context. What we see, it's a combination of factors. First, we see that the marketplace model, whatever it's a B2B or a B2C, is a model which is very powerful and extremely scalable. So that's one granted element. Marketplace do work. The second element is that we see that indirect procurement is a very wide area. Thierry have explained that, and I'll get into some more details, but there is huge potential around indirect procurement. And now I know it pretty well because this is more or less my experiences before joining Lemonway. Huge potential on indirect procurement. The benefits, very quickly, it's for you, procurement officer, freeing up time and allocating your time on added value tasks and not handling this repetitive task of buying non-core elements. And also, a subtle but extremely powerful tool of marketplaces, it's how do they put price under pressure when it's well executed. And so here, it's not so much for us corporate, but this is a big question mark that seller needs to question themselves before joining marketplaces. Yes, price are being put under pressure, I would say, for the good of the market, for the good of the buyer, but this is something very important to keep in mind. So this is what we see as the driving forces of marketplaces B2B. Moving to the next slide. This is also in line with what Thierry have started to introduce. We see different type of B2B proc marketplaces. The one which is really the class C that Thierry have described, which is product focused. So this is all these office supplies, furnitures that we're buying, sometimes every week, sometimes once a year. Not high value, I would say, items, but very costly processes. And these product-focused marketplaces is today existing or tends to become mature. Then we have time and material marketplaces, which is potentially freight, IT services, but also travel management. Today, big corporates, they have, I would say, travel management company, they have bilateral agreements, bilateral negotiations, and they don't use marketplaces in that environment, which is today, I think, a big potential. So time and material marketplaces. Then comes, which is boosted by, I would say, the COVID effect, scope of work marketplaces, where actually this is how do we use marketplaces for buying utilities, real estate, legal and consulting, professional services. So you see some of those like Malt, Comet, those, I would say, professional services marketplaces, but we believe this is going to boom to also cover new categories such as the one I've just mentioned. And then last, you have some new players, which could be digital native. Okay, they've identified a need and they've created their own company. And there is also that second options, which is the one that Thierry also touched, which is corporate spin-off marketplaces. So you have an entrepreneur, you have someone in a company, big groups that say, so okay, let's create a marketplace. And then because they execute very well, because they find the right market, they are suddenly owning a business that could potentially benefit not only their own group, but someone else. And so you see marketplaces which are corporate spin-off, very interesting model as well. So this is more or less the context and landscape that we see for marketplaces B2B e-proc from Lemonway eyes. Now, really jumping into the payment and making it very concrete, to operate marketplaces, you need to have a regulatory stamp. You need to be regulated to operate a marketplace and the marketplace's payments. And so next slide is about how do you handle that regulatory obligation. So you've got three options. First option, which is potentially interesting on the long run, because giving you a lot of freedom, which is you get your own agreement. What it means, you hire people, between 20 and 30 people, you go to your regulator, BaFin, FCA, ACR, CNMV, FINMA in Switzerland, and you say, I want to become payment establishments because I want to run a marketplaces without outsourcing the payment. Okay, well, this is going to cost you a couple of million euros and around 20 to 30 people. And we see some of, I would say, large companies going that way. Option two, which is you go for an exemption because you do a test, you launch your marketplaces, you don't know if it's going to take off, you don't know the volumes that these marketplaces is going to handle, and you go and talk to your, I would say, regulators, and you say, I'm going to have less than 1 million euros on my marketplaces. Can I have an exemptions before being regulated? And usually, if volumes are low, and this is test related, you will get a yes. And so you go for an exemption. But in majority of the cases, you don't want to go for having your own agreement because very costly, very time consuming. You have quite solid ambition, and so exemptions does not fit your need. And so you tend to go for option three, which is use a PSP, a payment solutions that has these agreements and that will make this agreement benefit your business. And so this is that, of course, me as Lemonway, this is the case we're going to dive in the next slide. Why do you use a PSP for operating your marketplace? First, because you want to handle payments, very basic, but you need to have a payment page, you need to accept transactions, and a PSP allows that. Second element, because you need to fill and to fit obligations of verification and identification of your seller. To know who sells on your platform, and you need to KYC or KYB the seller, potentially also the buyer, depending on your payment scheme, depending on the activities. But the PSP comes with a KYC/KYB solutions, which is necessary. You need also to have what we call segregation of funds. So this PSP, and this is part of his regulation, is going to hold the funds, keep it on a bank account on behalf of you, and making it safe. And so this is why you need a PSPs to segregate those funds. You also need solutions to go against anti-money laundering. Sorry, SCBFT, it's a French acronym, but you go for anti-money laundering and terrorist financing to understand who are the transactions coming from, where are they coming from, who they are coming with, I would say, and understanding these overall, I would say, activities within your platforms through verification and transactions, I would say, management. And also, you go and in a way, you buy expertise and know-how because it tends to be a new business, and PSPs have seen a lot of different cases and can help you, I would say, benchmarking solution, and act as a sparring partner to your business. And so this is more or less the key elements you could go for using a PSP. Maybe this is completely understood from some of you. Maybe this is not so clear yet for some of you. So I'm going to deep dive a bit into the key moments, the key elements of a transactions and what's going on from a transaction perspective on your marketplaces or on the marketplaces that you would be using. You have a first moment, which is what we call money in, encaissement en français. You need to be able to accept money on your platform. And so here we talk about acquisition of funds, we talk about acceptance. And so here, if you have questions, I'm very happy to take them after. So that's money in. What kind of payment means? Do you accept corporate cards? Do you accept virtual cards? Do you accept bank transfer? So I'll get on that later on. Then once the money is on your platform or is on the marketplaces, you need to make sure that you've identified the funds and that you verified who pushed the funds and who is going to accept this money, the seller. You need to make sure that you can reconcile those transactions, very important. So it's kind of a cash management entity, cash management pool that you are orchestrating on your marketplaces. And you need to segregate those funds into either a dedicated bank account or into, I would say, a more generic ones with specific identifications allowing you to reconcile. And then you've got the seller that says, okay, guys, I've sold something, I've sold an item, whatever is this item, I want to collect my money, and you as a marketplaces need to be able to push this money out of your marketplaces usually as fast as you can, because the seller like to have the money ASAP. And so this is the money out flows, extremely important as well. So that's how more or less transaction flows. You've got three steps. You've got the money in, you've got what's going on once the money is on the platform, and the money out, money leaves the platform. Couple of key elements that I would recommend you to look at when you go for a PSP selection on a marketplace B2B procurement. First, the scope. You know, we don't see a lot of those marketplaces which are purely national. They may be continental, but they are not national. And so there is a side effect of that, which is, of course, multi-currency management, very important. Second side effect, it's time zone and being able to contact support, to contact people on a 24/7 basis to make sure that if there is any hiccup on the transactions, you can have answers. So B2B e-proc marketplaces are by definition global. Payment means on the B2B e-proc marketplaces, accepting Alipay and WeChat, at least until now, is not a must. But accepting bank transfer, accepting corporate cards, accepting virtual cards, accepting potentially direct debit are must, because these are the payment means that buyer on B2B marketplaces are using. How is these marketplaces handling payment terms? Because you as procurement manager, you fought very hard with your supplier to get some payment terms, monthly 30, monthly 45, monthly 60, depending on your countries, depending on your negotiations, depending on the local laws and regulations. But you want marketplaces to respect the payment terms you've negotiated with your supplier. Usually, you also need reporting capabilities. Here, you've got different options. Either you create your own BI, either you use platforms like IZBERG with delivering also intelligence, or you use a PSP dashboard, which is reporting transactions also. You want to steer rebate and financial bonuses. You as procurement, you tend to negotiate price, you tend to negotiate payment terms. Of course, you look at quality, but sometimes, depending on the items that you're buying, you're also looking for kickback, rebate, financial incentives, and you want through, I would say, transaction management to steer your achievements versus your objectives. You also need to have solutions which integrate solutions for credit and insurance, because sometimes buying into marketplaces means that you don't know extremely well your seller or the buyer. And so you want security, you want guarantee to make sure that you do that transactions. So these are the key elements that we believe are key to make a B2B marketplaces eProc take off. Once you've done that, you know, what does that mean for you as procurement manager? You save time, you remove, I would say, a lot of basic daily hurdles, non-added value, and you start focusing on what I would assume enjoy doing and what you are expecting to deliver, which is innovation in procurement, which is risk management in procurement, which is now more and more sustainability in your procurement strategy, and which is, of course, also negotiation skills on strategic negotiation. And so that marketplaces allows you to regain time to focus on your, I would say, core tasks. Last slide from me before we jump into the case of Total that Thierry will be introducing is what it takes to start. The first, so we've listed a couple of elements here. We've listed 4 items. First is look at your spend and you look at your processes. Make a quick assessment on which item would you start, why, and which kind of processes would that optimize. Then start, you know, designing, I would say, a big case, a business case on what could be the savings. Then, even if you're a very large corporate, I would say start small. We have a lot of customer feedback telling us that it takes them between 6 to 12 months before having something which is adopted by seller, adopted by buyer, and seeing first transactions flowing in. And so that takes time. Iteration is key, and so start small. And then, you know, you want to scale, you've got your first tractions, and so it's time to make a second business case on what it takes to really have a solid and well-used marketplaces, and so assess resources you would need, and then challenge, I would say, your management within your large companies to get access to those resources. So this is what we see as a framework. This is a very exciting category because we believe that the potential is huge and that the technology is ready to tackle it. It's more a question of change management and process management that we now need to, I would say, work with you and educate the market with. So thank you very much. I see a couple of maybe questions and happy to take them later on.
Indeed. Before moving on to the case study, I just wanted to quickly stop for a while and submit a poll to you all. In the poll section on the right-hand side, you have a tab called poll, and it's accessible. Do not hesitate to share your views. And the question is this one. It's about whether you have been considering the marketplace model as a lever for the digitization of your procurement functions. And you have 4 options here. Option number 1, no, you've never thought about that. At least prior to this webinar, we hope that this webinar is actually giving you some detailed insights and food for thought. The second option is yes, but no concrete project. We are still thinking about it. Third option, yes, it's a strategic project for us in the upcoming month. And the fourth one and the last one is about, yes, we actually launched or we are already launching our e-procurement marketplace project. I will let you reply. In the meantime, Thierry is going to present a nice example from Total that has launched its own e-procurement marketplace called Click and Buy. He's going to explain the key success factors of such a project, and then we will come back later on the polls results and we will comment them together. Thierry, back to you.
Thank you very much, Karine. Thank you very much, Martin-Pierre, for explaining the key challenges of managing financial flows and regulatory. So let's talk now about a real-life example. So we were allowed by Total to talk about their experience in implementing the click and buy marketplace to manage Class C purchases for all the reasons explained before in terms of TCO reduction, managing orders, managing suppliers, out of process purchases, invoicing, after sales, and so on and so on. So let's go through this slide that Total sent to us. It's very simple. So the purpose is very simple. How to make Marie's life, a Class C purchaser on the left of the screen, easier. So this chapter is all about it. So from step 1 to step 3.1, you can see that the purchasing process is now very easy, from browsing products into a product catalog to placing an order, get the approval, and then be delivered. So very simple for managing this experience. As said before, human experience is really key, and having the same experience as in B2C was one of the major reasons of the success for this project. So in that case, Marie doesn't have to manage the payment. That is fully externalized and managed by an external company in a kind of marketplace as a service mode. As said before, this is an option chosen by Total, but you can also, of course, manage your marketplace by yourself. So very simple workflow, very simple task, but behind the scene, there are several processes to set up that make that life so easy on surface. In this case, the external company is operating all the heavy aspects, I would say. Onboarding the seller, selecting the offers, paying the invoice, until paying the invoicing. And for that specific case, the invoices are fully paid by the external operator, consolidated in a single invoice monthly. So this is the example of Click and Buy Marketplace Total for managing C-class purchases. And as an example here, you can see the user experience. So Marie, what does Marie see on her screen? Very simple. She wants to buy pens from a selected number of vendors, selected products. So very easy, like B2C experience. Same for the experience to manage the orders under approval, validated, non-validated, and so on. So very easy, very simple, completely outside the legacy purchase system of the company for A and B class. So that is the return of this simple project. Now, let's talk about the experience. What lesson learned? What were the lessons learned from this project, and why was it a success? So first of all, what are the key success factors? So first, number one, of course, is to make sure that the project, make sure that the project is a success. So be sure that the need is well defined, clearly identified, the objectives. And then it comes to the human factor. As said before, people first, at the very beginning of this presentation, comes back here because that is really key. The user experience is at the heart of the success of the project. And then have an MVP and agile approach. So don't start to do a tsunami or a tornado, implementing everything everywhere for everybody. That won't work. So start simple, few sellers, selected offers, selected geos, and selected user group. And then have, with an open platform such as IZBERG, a scalable and extensible solution to expand, to scale your business for more countries, more sellers, more offers, and more user group. That's the 4 key success factors, and that was really applied to the Total Click and Buy marketplace success. So in terms of something that you need to manage during the project and before, during a project and after the project, it's not exhaustive, but this is the list of things you need to check. So manage your success is of course a key element as seen before. So could be yourself if you operate your own marketplace, but also could be a key stakeholder or system from the project lifecycle, such as logistic, data management, and of course PSP. So the invoice, the payment, the taxation, the legal aspects that were explained before are something that you really need to manage during this project. So as explained before from Martin Pierre, this is one really key element, of course, of the marketplace uses. So this is the end of the presentation. We try to explain all the challenges, and what are the opportunities in managing a new e-procurement platform through a marketplace, and explain also what are the key challenges to manage, especially in the payment flow process, regulatory process, and last but not least, the user experience overall. So thank you very much for your attention. Maybe we have some time to, after the pool results, to take some questions.
Indeed. Thank you both a lot for these great insights. Yeah, indeed, if you agree, we are now moving on to the Q&A session. I see that some questions have been addressed already directly in the chat section, which is great. Just into brackets, because there's a question regarding total, the total case study, Thierry, that we probably want to address right now because it's fresh in the mind of everyone. Just into brackets, the poll is still available in the poll section, so feel free to interact. And regarding this question about Total, it's a question from Ludovic. Ludovic is asking, large groups like Total can afford building a marketplace. What is the most relevant option for SMBs from your experience?
It depends. I would say depends on the size of the business, depends on the size of the volume of business. Is the marketplace business a core business of the SMB company, or is it an additional business? We are mainly addressing large accounts right now. And after, of course, you need to balance the investment and the return. So it's case by case discussion. We have some customers who are at the limit of being SMB companies, but they are so successful with their marketplace that they finally decided to acquire a technology such as IZBERG, and they are very happy now because they have multiplied their GMV through this new way of working.
Yeah, and I see, Martin, you've been giving some insights on that question as well. Do you want to probably summarize them or bring some more insights?
Yeah, and I'm happy. You know, I think this is a new segment, and this is why I'm happy to see people staying here, and I'm happy to receive feedback in whatever forms, because these are new models. What we see. SMBs, I don't believe SMBs, you know, they have a core businesses, very hard for them to find the time to launch a marketplaces for buying volumes, which is not going to be extremely large. They remain SMBs. And so I think here you create new ecosystem, you create new economies where SMBs connect to large companies and actually benefit from those marketplaces. Very interesting also to see that those SMBs, buyer or seller change roles. And this is why we see also in the B2C world, in the C2C world, you know, you sell your shoes or you sell your motorbike on the same platforms, you become a buyer and a seller. Same on B2B. You start being a seller and then suddenly you become a buyer. And so that request from an IT, but also payment scheme, strong flexibility from the suppliers that you are selling to. So I think all those marketplaces are fascinating because they change over time. And when you launch a marketplaces, you believe you're going to serve a need. And looking at the way these marketplaces evolve, actually you see that you indeed answer a need, but which is a different one. And this is really true. I think there is also one element that we don't discuss a lot in those forums is what is the impact for a seller to become a player on the marketplace, especially on the B2B, when actually you have all this confidentiality management, the price sensitiveness, the business intelligence. And so I am a seller. if I am a leader on my market, should I become a seller on a marketplace? Yes, no. I am a challenger. I am a seller and a challenger on my market. Should I go on that marketplaces? I would say yes. So I think this is really it's a dynamic environment where actually things evolve, and very interesting to observe.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to complete the answer about SMB, I think there is two elements that are really key to say yes or no. Do we involve into such marketplace dynamic? It's time and cost. Of course, if you are building your own marketplace, it will cost you a lot, and it will take long time to roll out this marketplace. Using a platform like IZBERG platform, which is a pure SaaS platform, it only takes 5 months to implement from scratch the marketplace. And then, of course, because it is a SaaS model, it's based on license fee, and it's purely based on volume of business. So that's why I said in GMV objective is really important in the end.
Thank you.
You may want to also stay online, because one is asking a question on what's minimum viable product and what should you have in that MVP. So I'm happy to take the payment part of the question. Maybe we can start on the framework, which is more on your side here.
Yeah. Should I answer now or
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so the MVP approach is really simple. It's as I said before, start with very few sellers, very few offers, one single country, one single group of users, and then test and of course use the essential modules of the marketplace technology. That is the MVP. And then once you got tested this, you can expand, you can scale it, add new sellers, add new products, add new countries, add new user groups, and expand to have, in the end, a global e-procurement experience.
Just to complete here, and maybe this is not good for us Lemonway, I'm not even sure that payment is in the MVP. Yeah? I think you can already see if you have traction on the offers, I mean, on demand versus the offer without having payment in place. What we see on our side is that we have players that did create a marketplace which is non-transactional or transactional offline, that really found the traction, and once they found the tractions, decide to really integrate the transactional element into it, because of course they can get a cut, so the business model gets reinforced, they make more money, and also they get more data. So MVP, of course, I'd love payments to be in all MVPs, because that's what I sell, but I'm not even sure MVP considers payment.
Yeah, and actually the results of the poll are kind of connected to this MVP maturity of a question that you've just addressed. So regarding the results of the poll, the good news is that no, the marketplace model is something that is not new for everyone. So that's good news. And for most of you guys online, marketplace model for e-procurement is something that is part of your strategic roadmap. So either you're thinking about it, or this is a strategic project that you're going to launch in the coming months. And then less of you guys already launched your e-procurement marketplace. And Thierry, since you are interacting with corporates and companies that are thinking about launching their marketplace, do you see the same level of maturity in terms of split, and those kind of ratios are kind of familiar to you? I mean, globally, what is the level of maturity of clients you are addressing as a whole?
So there is a lot of education to do to make a B2B corporate understand the value and the return of implementing a new marketplace platform experience. I would say compared to legacy experience. So they have the habits to work heavy systems, industrial system in most cases, and it's sometimes difficult to make them change their mind until you demonstrate the value. You demonstrate the value on every aspect: people, TCO, work efficiency, time. So that's why it's very important to have a clear view of the objectives, a clear view of the need in order to provide the best fit solution.
Thank you. I see a question from Laetitia, but just before addressing that question, I wanted to submit a second poll to you guys. According to you, what is the main benefit of launching an e-procurement marketplace? Again, you have 4 options here: benefit from a centralized offer, reduce costs and increase margins, focus your resources on strategic purchases, or you don't know yet, you're attending actually this webinar to explore it. So again, you have a couple of minutes to answer, and then we'll quickly comment the results. And let's come back to the question from Laetitia. It's probably for you, Thierry, because you addressed the Class C purchase and so on. Do you have specific recommendation for Class C software on the shelf commodity?
Is there an example you can provide? Which shelf commodity you mean?
Yeah, probably. I don't know, Laetitia, if you can complement your...
I think, yeah, Laetitia, I think, Thierry, this is a good occasion, I guess, for a bit of promotion. I think, indeed, just to give you an interesting lesson here, marketplaces is something which is also, extremely popular now in the US, not only in Europe. When you launch a marketplaces, you raise money. And in the US, it's not easy, but it's easier to raise money. And so marketplaces that launched in the US managed to raise money strongly enough to build their own software. So their marketplaces software, because the money they've raised was high enough to do everything on their own. In EU, actually, marketplaces that launched got money, but not enough to build everything on their own. And this is why we've seen a strong ecosystem of IT providers who are helping marketplaces to scale. And so IZBERG is a perfect example. And I think the root cause is actually the size of financial rounds on marketplaces that raise money.
Probably, I don't know, Thierry, there's a
I'm sorry, it's a little bit lagging. Can you repeat that? It's a little bit lagging.
There's a
Oh, I think we lost Karine. So maybe I can complete the answers. Yeah. So the question is, should I build my own marketplace, or should I buy something from the market? I think it really depends on your needs and the way you will organize your marketplace dynamics. To explain that, there is a very simple comparison. So, would you prefer buying a Playmobil? Would you prefer buying a Playmobil, or would you prefer buying a Lego? So Playmobil, of course, there is a pre-built story, so you need to follow that story, versus a Lego. Lego, you can build your own story, assembling the right elements, and for that you need something very flexible and extensible, such as a marketplace.
Yeah. There was a compliment from Laetitia giving the example of buying license from software vendors, for instance. So.
You're back? Okay.
Yeah, back.
We
Sorry.
lost Martin Pierre.
Yeah, I think he's having a connectivity issue. So let's see if he's coming back on the platform. But in the meantime, we've received the results from the poll. So according to the audience, the main benefits of launching an e-procurement marketplace is mainly about, I mean, they've selected two options here: reduce costs and increase margins. So at a lesser ratio, but the majority of the participants are saying that it's an interesting model to focus resources on strategic purchases. So any comments on that from you guys?
No, that's really the
good route.
The good route, yeah, exactly. So I would be more than happy to take some time offline with some people who want more explanation about our approach of building a marketplace project around our technology. That's what we did for Total. We completely built a tailor-made solution to answer their needs. So that's why need is really important. So versus buying something that is less flexible or with plenty of features that we don't need. So that's exactly something we provide, something that really fits the needs of the customer.
Thank you. One last word from you, Martin, as well, before we close the session.
That was cool. Very happy to be with you. Looking for feedback, any questions. We're all learning, I think, in those new areas. So very happy to spend that time with you. Thanks a lot, all of you. Karine, for the organization. As always, that was great.
Thank you. A big thank to you all for your active participation, and big thank to you both, Thierry and Martin, for sharing your expertise today. The replay of this session will be available right after the closing of this webinar, so you'll be receiving an email notification, including the link to watch the session again. And of course, if you wish to receive the slides, we will be able to share a light version of it with you after the session. You just need to reply to the notification you will receive, and our team will revert to you with a set of slides. Once again, many thanks for your participation. Have a great summer, and see you soon for another online boost. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.